Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Uncommon Sense with Jose Negron. Now, for the benefit of those who are not familiar with my channel and those who are watching for the first time, the reason why we call it Uncommon Sense is that we discuss everyday problems and issues and we try to find logical solutions. It is that reason why it's called uncommon sense because unfortunately, not everyone uses logic. I just want to let everybody know that we're currently live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter through Periscope. Um, First of all, I just want to say, appreciate all those who are currently watching the stream and who will catch it on the replay. Now, the topic for tonight is the art of conflict resolution. But before we get there, I'm going to share something that I just came across, in fact, within the last hour. So just give me a moment. Oops, let me just. Okay. Okay. Just give me a moment. I'm still. Okay, now I'm just going to share. I just came across this story less than an hour ago. And basically, what's the situation is our governor, Hochul, plans to allow New York indoor mask mandates to expire as of Thursday. She'll be announcing this, on Tuesday. So let me just scroll down. The mandate, which applies to businesses that do not have vaccinating requirements, have been in effect for almost 2 months, kicked off controversy in conservative living regions where the authorities refuse to enforce it. Now, the governor had instituted mask mandates in response to the monsoon of Omicron coronavirus cases that flooded the state as fall faded into winter. Hochul indicated twice that the mandate, despite what Republican era and a court battle over whether she had the authority to impose the measure. Let me just scroll down here. So basically, pretty soon our governor will be announcing easing on the mask mandates. Now, I'm going to give you my point of view. The reality is this: we've been dealing with this health crisis for 2 years now. Next month will be 2 years exactly. And the fact of the matter is, there are people who have caution fatigue because the fact of the matter is this: people are getting sick and tired. I happen to wear one of these. Okay. And I also did research which indicated that 99% of the people infected with COVID-19 don't have very serious effects, other than the couple of days they feel like crap, but nothing major that requires hospitalization. So we're gonna have to wait and see what the governor has in mind in regards to the mandates. Now let us get into the topic, which is conflict resolution. So I'm just going to share my screen again. Please bear with me because I haven't completely gotten all the bugs out. Okay. Now I'm going to give you the definition of what is conflict resolution. Because here on this channel, whenever we say anything, we need to give clear definitions. Now, conflict resolution is a way for two or more parties to find a peaceful solution to a disagreement among them. The disagreement may be personal, financial, political, or emotional. When a dispute arises, often the best course of action is negotiation to resolve the disagreement. Now, the fact of the matter is, disagreements can happen in many ways. It can happen between families, it can happen between co-workers, it can happen between spouses and what have you, because everybody has different points of view when it comes to conflict resolution. Now we're going to go to an article called The Top 5 Conflict Resolution Strategies in the Workplace. Okay. Now, these are the top 5 conflict resolution strategies as illustrated in this argument. Number 1, don't ignore conflict. If you're someone who dislikes dealing with conflict, it might seem tempting just to put your head in the sand and pretend it doesn't exist, hoping it will resolve itself on its own. While sometimes this can happen, the truth is that the vast majority of the time, this will only cause the situation to get worse. Ignored conflicts have a tendency to fester over time and reappear in inopportune moments. So do your team a favor and address conflicts when they occur, nipping a potentially toxic situation in the bud as soon as you recognize it. As I stated before, conflicts can occur. And of course, sometimes the easiest thing is to pretend that's not there. But we are seeing what's the consequences. By not dealing with conflicts, it can escalate into something more serious. Now we're going to go to the second item. Clarify what is the issue. If you're dealing with a conflict between two members of your team, it is important that you get all the facts. Sit down with each individual involved and find out exactly what the issue is. How is each individual perceiving the situation? What needs are not being met? What does each party see as an appropriate resolution? Make sure all parties involved understand that you're acting as an impartial mediator and let them know they can feel comfortable to share sensitive information. Now, this is very important because if you are brought into a situation where two or more individuals ask you to try to resolve an issue, it is extremely important, number 1, to be impartial. And number 2, get all the facts. Now, sometimes people tend to add a lot of needless information. So it's very important that you try to get what is the facts that each person have regarding their version of the problem to try to come up with a solution that agreeable to all parties. Which brings up the third topic. Bring involved parties together to talk. Once you had a chance to talk to all involved parties separately, bring them together in a meeting so that they can hash out their differences in a neutral environment. This is a time for brainstorming, active listening, and being open to different perspectives. The goal is to come to a common understanding of what the problem is, what role each individual is playing in the conflict, and what some possible solutions might be. So, here it's important to have dialogue, not a monologue, a dialogue. What that means, every party involved has an opportunity to voice their concerns, their worries, their objections in a non judgmental environment with the understanding that their points of view will be heard and with the understanding that they're going to hear what other people have to say. Now, that brings up the next point, which is identify a solution. After both parties have had a chance to discuss the situation at hand, it's time to identify what satisfactory solution might be and how to get there. Ideally, by this point, both parties would have understand the other side, and sometimes the conflict will be resolved just through facilitated open dialogue. However, if the situation requires further resolution, you will need to step in and help them negotiate a reasonable solution. This phase can require some time and effort as it requires both parties to set aside their differences and preferences and find common ground to work towards, which may involve not getting everything that they want out of the situation. Then work with both individuals to come up with a concrete list of steps that will result in the solution being achieved. Now, what this identifies is each party may not get exactly what they want individually. However, if they're able to set aside their differences and their feelings and try to work together as a conglomerate to try to find solutions of which all parties can deal with, it's more likelihood they'll come up with a solution, and it will be a win-win situation for all parties involved. Now, the fifth item is continue to monitor and follow up on the conflict. Just because a solution has been identified and addressed does not mean it will just go away. As a manager, it is your responsibility to check with both parties to ensure that the conflict has truly been dealt with and that steps identified to reach a solution are being followed. It all seems to be going well. Simply to remember to stop and observe from time to time just to see if things are really going smoothly or there's still lingering tensions under the surface that needs to be handled. It is clear that if it is clear that the solution didn't work or wasn't the right solution for the situation, make sure to be proactive in working in both parties to readjust expectations, identify alternative solutions, and continue the dialogue to create positive and healthy work environments. I'm going to stop here for a moment. So, in other words, it's not just enough to come up with a solution, also to come up with follow-up to see how things are progressing. And if for some reason the solutions are not working, then we need to reevaluate the situation and see other solutions. But the main thing is maintain the dialogue, I mean, another main thing in mind is that uh, it's a give and take. Not everyone's going to get what they want, but if people are able to set aside the differences in their personal feelings, they can come up with a solution. Now, I see there are 5 people viewing this stream. Now, the link to join is already in the chat. So anyone is welcome to join. Now, tonight, I do have the function where if you wish to drop a comment, you will have to subscribe, which brings out if my content is you find it to be worthy, I would appreciate it that you subscribe, like, and hit the bell notification to all. So therefore, whenever I do post any material, you'll be notified. One thing I do notice that 75% that's viewing my content are not subscribers. While I do appreciate the interest, I would like if some of you would consider subscribing to my channel. Now we're going to share some other information. Just give me a moment. No, that's not. Just give me a moment. Now I'm going to share with you another article that I came across. Now, this came from the American Management Association. And in this article, which is dated July the 25th, 2019, talks about the 5 steps to conflict resolution. And the first step is to find the source of the conflict. The more information you have about the cause of a problem, the more easily you can help resolve it. To get the information you need, use a series of questions to identify the cause, like, when did you feel upset? Do you see a relationship between that and this incident? How did this incident begin? As a manager or supervisor, you will need to give both parties a chance to share their side of the story. This will give you a better understanding of the situation as well as demonstrate your impartiality. As you listen to each respondent say, I see, or uh-huh, to acknowledge the information and encourage them to open up to you. Again, it's very important that you hear both sides of the conflict in a non-judgmental manner. Allow each party to express their concerns and their issues and what they perceive is the conflict. Now, step number 2 is look beyond the incident. Often, it is not the situation, but the point of view of the situation that causes anger to fester and ultimately leads to a shouting match or with other visible and disruptive result. The source of the conflict may be a minor issue that occurred months before, but the levels of stress that have grown to the point where the 2 parties have begun to attack each other personally and instead of addressing the real problem. In the calm of your office, you can get them to look beyond the triggering incident to see the real cause. Once again, probing questions will help, like, what do you think happened here? Or what do you think the problems between you first arose? So in this step, you need to get the facts and you need to see what's triggered, what is the triggers. Now, step number 3 is request solutions. After getting each party's viewpoint, the next step is to get them to identify the situation, how the situation could be changed. Again, question the parties to solicit their ideas. How can you make things better between you? As a mediator, you have to be an active listener, aware of every verbal nuance, as well as be a good reader of body language. You want the disputants to stop fighting and start cooperating. And that means steering the discussion away from finger pointing and towards ways of resolving the conflict. Now, after you hear what are the issues and concerns each party have, you seek their input regarding solutions. Which leads us to the next step. Identify solutions both respondents can support. You are listening for the most acceptable course of action. Point out the merits of various ideas, not only from each other's perspective, but in terms of the benefits to the organization. For instance, you might suggest the need for greater cooperation and collaboration to effectively address issues and departmental problems. Now, here, when I mean identify solutions, in other words, there's a problem, what we can do to resolve the problem. As I stated earlier, not everyone is going to get what they want. And once all parties involved understand that, then they can start thinking about what are possible solutions, and then discussion among themselves, and then try to arrive at a decision or solution when all parties can agree to. Which leads to step 5, agreement. The mediator needs to get the two parties to shake hands and accept one of the alternatives identified in step 4. The goal is to reach a negotiated agreement. Some mediators may go far to write up a contract which actions and timeframes are specified. However, it might be sufficient to meet with the individuals and have them answer these questions. What actions plans will you both put in place to prevent conflict from arising in the future? And what will you do if the problems arise in the future? Here, what's being discussed is a solution and a course of action that's going to take place in the event that the issue arises again. There will always be issues, but the key is to acknowledge that there will be issues and to come with solutions. Now, I see there are 4 people viewing the stream. Again, if anybody wishes to join the panel, the link is there. In order to put a comment in the chat, I'm I'm going to ask you to subscribe. Now, let me explain to you why I have implemented that feature. It is simply because of the fact, unfortunately, it's a reality that every YouTube creator have haters and trolls. And sometimes they put inappropriate comments. One of the things that I've tried to do ever since I created this channel is to provide a safe environment for everyone to share their viewpoints. And if we're going to disagree, we're going to disagree, but we're going to do it with mutual respect, and we're going to hear each other's point of view. Now, I'm going to share a couple other things. Hopefully, some people will appear. If not, I'm just going to end it. Just give me a moment. Now, here is another article. Certain topics are going to appear throughout all these articles. Now, here we have the definition of what is conflict resolution, which is the process where two or more parties reach a peaceable solution to a dispute. And these are some more steps as part of the conflict resolution process. Number one, recognition by the parties that a problem exists. Number two, mutual agreement to address the issue and to find solution. Number three, an effort to understand the perspective and concerns of the opposing individual or group. Number four, identify changes in attitude, behavior, and approaches to work by both sides that will lessen negative feelings. Number five, recognizing triggers to episodes of conflict. Number six, interventions by third parties such as human resources representatives or higher level management to mediate. Number seven, a willingness of one or both parties to compromise. Number eight, an agreement on a plan to address differences. Number nine, monitor the impact of any agreements for change. And number 10, discipline or determination of employees who resist efforts to diffuse conflicts. Now, the last point, that should be avoided if possible. That could be done if both parties are willing to hear each other out. Now, there's different types of conflict resolution skills. So we're going to discuss it. The first one is assertiveness. A supervisor might take the initiative to convene a meeting between two employees who engage in a public dispute. An employee might seek out a person with whom they have a conflict to suggest working together to find ways to coexist most peacefully. And there's certain items which are important for this process. It's to be articulate, balanced approach, candor, decisive, delegation, fact-based, fair, firm leadership, manage emotions, negotiations, sociable, voice opinions, problem solving, self-control, and self-stress management. And then there is another element which is known as interviewing and active listening. A human resource representative might ask the questions and listen carefully to determine the nature of the conflict between a supervisor and a subordinate. And these are certain attributes, which is articulate, attentiveness, conscientiousness, consciousness, consideration, empathy, encouraging, intuitive listening, negotiating, nonverbal communication, persuasion, prediction, presentation, professional, relationship building, respectful, sense of humor, sincere, sociable, understanding, and verbal communication. Which leads us to the next item, which is empathy. A media might encourage empathy by asking employees in conflict to each describe how the other might feel by feeling and thinking, and how the situation might look to the other party. Empathy is also a very important skill for medias who must be able to understand each party's perspective without necessarily agreeing with either. And there's certain attributes, which are, just give me a moment, asking for feedback, building trust, compassion, inclusion, giving feedback, handling difficult personalities, managing emotions, high emotional intelligence, identifying nonverbal clues, recognizing differences, understanding diverse viewpoints, interpersonal patience, personable, self-awareness, self-control, trustworthy, and welcoming opinions. Which brings us to the next element, which is felicitation. Managers of rival departments might facilitate a joint brainstorming session with their teams to generate solutions to ongoing points of conflict. Group facilitation techniques can also be used to avoid triggering conflict during a group decision making in the first place. And those elements are, just give me a moment. Brainstorming, collaboration, conflict management, diplomat, ethical, humble, influential, insightful. Just give me a moment. Intuitive, listening, organized, patience, perceptive, planning, practical, realistic, reflective, teamwork. Now, there's certain elements regarding mediation. A supervisor might guide subordinates who are in conflict through a process to identify mutual agreeable changes in behavior. And these attributes are assertive, compassionate, decision-making, emotional intelligence, empathy, honestly, impartial, insightful, leadership, measure, patience, problem-solving, professional, psychological background, rational approach, respect, understanding, and transparency. Which brings up to the next aspect, which is creative problem solving. A supervisor might redefine the roles of two conflict-prone staff to simply eliminate points of friction. Creativity can also mean finding new win-win solutions. And these involve brainstorming solution, conflict analysis, collaborating, critical thinking, convening means, creativity, critical thinking, decision-making, designating sanctions, fair resolution, goal integration, monitoring process, nonverbal communication, problem-solving, restoring relationship, sense of humor, and verbal communication. Which leads to accountability. A supervisor might conduct conflict initiative behavior to exhibited by a chronic complainer as preparation for performance appraisal. In this way, the supervisor helps establish accountability since the employee can no longer pretend the problem isn't happening. And these elements are adaptable, collaboration, delegation-driven, dynamic, flexible, focused, follow-through, honesty, integrity, leadership, motivation, organized, planning, result-oriented, visionary, trustworthy, and versatile. And these are certain things which are more conflict resolution skills, which are accepting criticism, assertive, avoid punishing, being present, calmness, daily, impartiality, innovative leadership, let it go, logical, non-bias, patience, positivity, prioritize relationships, project management, research, respect differences, separating yourself, stress management, and technical expertise. And the last examples are conflict resolution skills. Assertiveness by a supervisor who convenes a meeting between two employees who have engaged in a public dispute. Interviewing and active listening skills utilized by human resources represented to define the nature of a conflict between a superior and a subordinate. A supervisor encouraging empathy by asking opposing employees to describe how the other might feel in conflict situations. Managers of rival departments facilitating a brainstorming session with their staff to generate solutions to ongoing points of conflict. Mediation skills by a supervisor who help rival subordinates to identify mutually agreeable changes in behavior. A co-worker seeking out a rival and suggesting that she would like to find a way to coexist more peacefully. Creativity and problem solving by a supervisor who would define the roles of two conflict-prone staff to eliminate points of friction. Accountability established by a supervisor who documents conflict initiating behaviors exhibited by a chronic professor on his performance appraisal. So basically, what I just read and what I just shared was a great deal of information. Now, basically, okay, when you're dealing with conflict resolution, there's certain things to bear in mind. You need to be impartial. You need to get everybody's point of view. You need to discuss an environment or create an environment when people can express their concerns, their grievances in a safe environment without judgment. Once all the facts have been entered, to try to come to a solution where everyone can agree with. And again, one thing to bear in mind is not everybody is going to get what they want. But the key is to come up with some sort of a solution where everyone can accept the results. That's very important. Again, I'm going to ask if anyone that wants to join the panel, do so, because I don't want it to become a monologue. So just give me a moment. I'm sorry, just give me a moment to text something. Okay. So if no one is planning to join the panel, I'm gonna begin to wrap this up because the whole point is to have a serious discussion. and to have a dialogue, not a monologue. Um, Now, what I'm going to do is on Thursday we're going to have another video regarding current events. It will go live at I believe 9:15 p.m. We are going to have another stream on Tuesday, which will be completely in Spanish. Um, what we will do is we're going to be talking about the problems where Latinos face um, living in the United States. Let me just say a few words in Spanish. El próximo martes vamos a tener la segunda programación completamente en español. Vamos a hablar sobre los problemas que enfrentan los latinos viviendo en los Estados Unidos. Y la verdad que eso, cuando una persona sale de su país para vivir en los Estados Unidos, hay problemas que algunos se encuentran. Entonces, vamos a hablar sobre este tema. Que yo voy a hacer, yo no voy a usar la función que solamente la persona que son, que apoyan el canal entre su comentario. Sea completamente libre para todo el mundo. Pero que yo voy a pedir que por favor, que sea muy respetuoso respecto a los puntos de vista de los invitados y de parte de mí. What I'm going to do is for next Tuesday's stream, I'm not going to utilize the function where you have to be a subscriber in order to enter your comments in the chat. It will be open to all. All I ask is people, please, and I mean it, please be respectful with your comments. Please be respectful regarding the guests and regarding me. Because anybody that puts any negative comments, they will be blocked. That's a fact of life. And they will be forever banned from appearing from my platform. I don't want to do it, but ever since this channel has been created, I've strived to create a safe environment for everyone to share their views freely, without judgment, without hesitation. And I'm not going to allow anybody to enter any negative comments or show disrespect towards me or towards the guests. Yo no voy a permitir a personas a faltar respeto a los invitados o a mí. Now, on Thursday, February the 17th, I will do my first interview. And I'm going to be interviewing K-Fit Now. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with her, she has a YouTube channel as well, where she's into fitness and also talks about social issues. So what I'm going to do is we're gonna chew the fat. I'm going to interview her, and of course, I'm going to encourage all members of the Uncommon Folk to subscribe to her channel. She happened to be a member of the same union that I belong to. and she's a municipal employee. Wait a minute, I think we have. Now, I'm not even going to read the subscribe, okay? Good evening, Ramon. Rakim, I'm sorry.
Good evening, Jose, my YouTube dad. How you doing?
Hey, I'm okay. I don't know how much of the stream that you cut. Basically, I was just giving a discussion regarding the art of conflict resolution.
The art of conflict resolution. I was able to catch a few minutes of it before I was able to join.
Okay. Well, let me just summarize because I did share a lot of information, and I don't want to like talk for another 50 minutes or so. But in conflict resolution, what's involved is you are trying to resolve an issue where two or more parties have, and you're trying to reach solutions where people from both sides can agree with. And there's certain things which are very important as far as the art of conflict resolution, which are you have to be impartial. You have to listen to all parties involved without judgments. You have to provide a safe environment where all parties can express their views. Seek their input as far as come up with some sort of as a solution, implement the solution, and then follow up and see if the solution is working. And if for some reason it's not, then we will have to revisit and try to find a solution and take actions to avoid those issues from resurfacing.
That sounds really about right when it comes to conflict resolution, as far as dealing with, people that you may have, you may have to come to a common ground. And especially when you're talking about, family members or business or various things of that nature.
Yeah, I agree. And the fact of the matter is, conflicts can recur. They can recur among friends. They can occur regarding family. They can occur with loved ones, and conflicts can arise out of the blue.
Yes, it depends on the situation. Sometimes conflicts can arise based off of some people's insecurities, based off of jealousy, people that are watching you that you may necessarily think, or pay any attention to. And, that can cause, a conflict. Your presence and aura sometimes can cause conflict because it can be a challenge to someone's how they feel about themselves, or it can be a reflection on someone on how they feel about themselves. So there's numerous reasons that can cause conflict, or your presence as a person. You can just be, you know, a domineering person, or you can be a treacherous person, or someone like that that may, bring conflict to yourself as well.
Yeah. I'm going to share something with you. Just give me a moment. So now this is the actual definition of conflict resolution. It's a way for two or more parties to find a peaceful solution to a disagreement among them. The disagreement may be personal, financial, political, or emotional. When a dispute arises, often the best course is negotiation to resolve the disagreement. Now, what is your observation regarding that definition?
My observation is like I pretty much agree with the definition, but unfortunately, I believe that sometimes it depends on the people if the issue can be resolved, because you deal with pride, you deal with ego, You deal with, people not being able to admit if they're wrong, you know. So it definitely depends on the person. Sometimes the best conflict resolution is just to resolve it, resolve the relationship there, and people go their separate ways if an agreement cannot be met to, further to avoid further animosity or, um
Yeah, I agree.
disdainment or things like that.
I agree. And one thing, our friends, the slow taps, or as I like to refer to as the mentally and intellectually challenged, they have a serious problem as far as trying to resolve conflicts maturely.
Absolutely, absolutely. And a lot of that comes from their insecurities as men, their immaturity, and just feeling inadequate as a man. And people that feel inadequate, both men and women, tend to lash out and blame other parties for their circumstances, or try to put other parties under a microscope to pretty much magnify their problems.
Okay. Oh boy, I see. I see the slow taps. Okay, let's see if I can. Okay. Um, Joaquin, you might want to try just bouncing out and coming back in because for some reason I don't know whether there's a connection with the Wi-Fi at your end, but the fact of the matter is, in order to resolve conflicts, a certain amount of maturity is needed from all parties involved. And sometimes people love to play the accusing angel. But one thing people fail to understand is that when you point one accusing finger at one person, four of them are pointed towards you. That is the reality. So that's just so as I was saying before, Tuesday, um, no, sorry, Thursday, February the 17th, I'll be conducting my first interview. Soon I'll be interviewing my cyber daughter, Denise Gonzalez, on this platform. And I do plan to interview other people. Now, the original plan was just to do it for the month of February. So I might extend this into March because there are other people that I would like to interview that I would like the uncommon folk to get to know. So, um, as I stated before, we're going to be doing two streams in Spanish every month. Vamos a tener dos programaciones completamente en español, perdón, cada mes. Y eso es para las personas que no hablan inglés, pero que pueden disfrutar de la programación. And Joaquin is back. I see the slope tests are trying to keep you mute.
No, I wouldn't blame them. I had to take a phone call regarding work, so and it just popped up in the middle of our conversation. But yeah, I mean that's usually what you have when it comes to certain types of people, especially online when people could be anonymous and They don't necessarily have to deal with any type of backlash for their, for what they say, and people really express how they feel on the inside, and you get a chance to have a good idea of who these people are and how they really feel, especially when they're on the internet and it's comfortable to spew the rhetoric that they spew.
Okay. Changing the topic to us a little bit. By any chance, Rakim, have you had an opportunity to see part one of the documentary Open Wounds by our friend Radical Latino?
Yes, I have.
And what is your observations regarding it?
I think it was a great documentary. I think it was well produced. Um, just going into intricate detail of what transpired on the island of Hispaniola, on the trips that the Spaniards made from Europe, and the methods that they used to pretty much take control of the island and take control of the natives, which is the Tainos on the island, and all of the methods that they used to just pretty much conquer the island, and the diseases that was brought, of course, killing off a lot of the Taino population, and the import of Africans on that island to sustain the
Mhm.
labor that they needed to be able to colonize the island. It was very interesting. Some information I already knew, and some I didn't. So it was, very interesting to be able to watch it.
Yes. One thing we do have to make it clear. Um, we're not saying that all Spaniards are evil. Okay. Unfortunately, you do have Spaniards that did commit evil.
Of course, no, no, no. Yes, we're not saying that all Spaniard people are evil, or even all English people are evil, or you know, um, any group that may have participated in atrocities throughout the New World. We're not saying that. We're just pointing out the people that was actually involved in those atrocities, and pretty much history that had taken place.
Yes. Now, I came across an article that I shared that pretty soon our governor will be easing up on the mask mandates here in New York. Um, in fact, let me see if I can find the article. Please bear with me because I'm learning how to do. Okay. Okay. I'm going to share it now. And believe it or not, I actually learned by myself.
Okay.
So I don't know. Hopefully you can see this article. And this is the headline: COVID live update. New York is lifting the mask mandate. Now, basically, the whole issue is the neighboring states are easing up on the mandates. So pretty soon, the governor will be announcing that the mask mandates will be eased or lifted. Now, let me just read to you this. Governor Hochul will drop the New York stringent indoor mask mandate on Wednesday, ending requirement that businesses that ask customers for proof of full vaccination or require wearing at all times, and marking a turning point in the state coronavirus response, according to three people briefed on her decision. The decision will eliminate that prompted legal and interpersonal clashes over mask wearing, especially in conservative parts of New York. It is set to expire on Thursday and will have required renewing. Now, what is your observation on what you just heard?
Well, they have something similar going on here in Illinois right now, as far as you can't go into certain sectors um, unless you have the you know the vax, and I don't really know what to say. I really don't know what to say about it. Um, because I understand that it's a situation where we're dealing with something that that's definitely have lives taken a lot of lives actually, and really much have flipped the economy and turned everything upside down. I think it's people's, if they don't want, if they feel like in their business they don't want you in their business, if you're not if you're not vaxxed or if you're mandated, if I mean if you got the mandates going on and you have to be vaxxed, that's their prerogative. And if people, I believe that if people don't, feel like, it's in their best interest to be vaxxed, and that's their prerogative as well. And there's different alternatives as far as you don't have to patronize that business either. Like even with me, there's certain areas that I can't go in and, to restaurants and everything. I take my business to Indiana. Indiana is 25 to half an hour, 25 minutes to half an hour away. So
Okay.
you don't have to, they don't have the same laws as far as mandates go as Illinois. So
Well, here in New York, I mean, in order for you to dine at a restaurant or go to a theater or go to a sporting event, you have to be vaccinated or else you will not be allowed entry. It is as simple as that. And you have to show proof that you've been vaccinated. And the fact of the matter is, we had a stream last month regarding C-19, whether the pandemic is over, which Denise produced information. A lot of it did make sense. And I also produced my facts. So even though we did not agree, we were agreeable towards each other, which was a good thing, which is something that our friends, the slow taps, cannot comprehend.
yeah, of course, of course. You're not dealing with logical people that are, rational. These are people, some of them even just want attention online. So they're just going to say whatever. And a lot of people don't do their research, and they go off emotion. So I'm not surprised, and I don't think anybody else should be. But yeah, I feel that it's to each his own. It's it's people's prerogative, on whether they want whatever, alternative they want to take in
I agree.
regards to, in regards to the situation that's um, result, in, you know, this virus that we're dealing with.
Well, the fact of the matter is, this health crisis has been politicized since day one. And the fact of the matter is, our political leaders did not address it seriously. And in fact, Obama had certain protocols in place, um, which, for whatever reason, Trump removed, which meant our leaders were not prepared at all to deal with this health crisis. And then they try to downplay it because it occurred in an election year. And of course, there's been a lot of misinformation spread around regarding C-19. And the fact of the matter is, there are things that you can do to strengthen your body to fight out C-19. You can take vitamin D, you can take vitamin B12, you can try to live a more healthier uh, lifestyle. Um, in fact, 99% of the people infected recover without any major complications.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I'm a firm believer of that as well. If you eat healthy, plenty of greens, your spinach, your kale, your arugula, your bell pepper, your red onion, um, If you're able to go plant based, go plant based. If not, get your protein from your chicken breasts and different things like that. Take your vitamins, eat plenty of fruit and veggies. That's a natural way to help fight off a lot of, what's transpiring out here. I definitely am a firm believer of that myself.
And unfortunately, we have that had to do with a lot of hypocrisy. That the same politicians they're telling us we gotta get vaccinated, we gotta wear our masks, we gotta social distance. They're not doing the same thing. So it's a simple case of do what I say and not what I do. Joaquin, are you there? Okay. Boy, it looks like he's having trouble with his. I don't know whether it's with the. Okay. It
Yeah,
seems like the
sorry about that.
spirits are doing everything possible to keep you from speaking.
No, that was my headpiece. I had tapped it. It went haywire. Where I can see you speaking, but I couldn't hear or say anything. But yeah. I mean, I definitely like I don't really know what to say anymore because it's going on 2 years since this virus has been first introduced to us, and some people, we in the beginning we were dealing with people that didn't really believe it, and unfortunately, a lot of people have since passed on due to the damage that this virus has done. And I say we have more than enough information on what's going on at this particular moment. If people are hesitant on the vax, don't do it, but also take other precautions that's necessary to be able to protect yourself and understand that the way that things are going now, they're trying to find ways to force you to do certain things without actually forcing you to do certain things. So if you have to understand that it's going to be you're not going to be able to go into movie theaters, you're not going to be able to dine in certain places, you're not going to be able to go into certain public places. So just understand that, and find different alternatives to try to find other places that may not require have that type of requirement that you can go enjoy. If you feel that you don't want to take it that far and you want to get the vax, that's your prerogative, and go ahead and get it, and you won't have to deal with the issues of being restricted on certain things that you can do throughout the city.
Well, the reality is this: here in New York, as many as 3,000 municipal employees may face termination for refusal to get vaccinated, and that is not a pleasant prospect.
No, and I don't think things should be taken that far where you're threatening a person's livelihood for vaccination. But this is where we're going because really they're going to try to force people to get it one way or the other.
Well, yeah. Unfortunately, the reality is this: there are people that's just not going to get vaccinated. I
Hmm.
mean, it could, and some of them they have legitimate reasons. It could be that medical problem prevents them from getting vaccinated or whatever.
Right.
Of course, we hear stories about how um, people spread misinformation, talking about how they put some sort of radioactive chip into the vaccine and whatnot. And then we have information about the Toxicity Institute and what have you. So there's a lot of fear and a lot of mistrust that's out there. And then, the fact of the matter is you have people denying, and also the fact that people are being silenced for talking about other ways that one can naturally uh, in, build immune and strengthen their immunity through natural means.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And so that's the situation that we're dealing with right now at this particular moment. And it's only we only have so many alternatives on what we can do, and I say whichever one suits you the best. For anybody out there that's listening, take it. So that's the only thing I can say, because either you go north or you go south, either you go east or you go west, and that's pretty much the options that we have at this particular moment.
Yeah. Well, at this point, I'm going to start taking closing remarks. I mean, I do appreciate the fact that, I did, so far we've gotten 6 likes here. And the fact of the matter is, um, there are times where people are going to join the stream, and there are times that people will not be able to. Now, let me just state, next week's stream will be completely in Spanish. So, how is your Spanish, Joaquin?
Oh, my español, si habla no español. Well, yeah.
Don't feel so bad because I speak Spanish like a gringo. But let's start to take closing remarks. So, um, if you would share your closing remarks, Joaquin.
My closing remarks: when it comes to conflict resolution, is very important to be able to come to the table and resolve issues with people that if it's a relationship that you may value, if it's business, if it's someone that you love, such as a family member. I do believe in conflict resolution, but sometimes the best conflict resolution is just pretty much you know leaving those issues at the table, and walking away. You forgive those people, and you go your separate way, because sometimes there's no resolving, especially depending on the person's mind state. Because we have so many people out here that have vitriol and rage, and from past experience, some people out here are hurt and they don't want to let certain things go. So it's hard to resolve that issue if you have one with certain people, and you may not have an issue with anyone just due to their past experiences. They have an issue with you, and some people project what's going on with them onto certain people. So if it's easier to resolve that issue or resolve the conflict, of course you want to do that, because you don't want any negative feelings towards you, or you having negative feelings towards anyone else, because life is difficult enough just making it day to day. But if you cannot resolve those issues, the best thing to do is to, leave that conflict at the table and go your separate way. And, God bless the person that's on the opposite end of that table.
Okay, well, thank you, Joaquin, for sharing your input. And of course, you know that you have a home here, my cyber son. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you in the background. Please don't go anywhere. Okay. Now, I'm going to give you my final thoughts as it pertains to the topic. When it comes to conflict resolution, um, it requires the following. First of all parties involved must be willing to discuss their issues in a calm, rational, and peaceful way, preferably in an environment where they're able to share their views without judgment, without fear, without reprisal. And then the person that's trying to facilitate it must be able to listen to all the facts, be impartial, be non judgmental, and allow all parties involved to calmly and rationally state their views. And then seek their input when it comes to getting a solution. Not only getting a solution, making sure that the solution is being abided by and is the actual solution, or will another solution need to take place. I do appreciate all those who watch the stream live. I also appreciate those that will catch it on the replay. And it may not be one of my top 10 topics, but I'm sure it'll be interesting for others to catch it on the replay. Now, this Thursday, I'm going to have Current Events Thursday, which will air 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is 6:15 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and 8:15 p.m. Central Standard Time. As I indicated, next Tuesday's stream will be completely in Spanish. So those who are not fluent in Spanish, maybe you want to think about learning Spanish. It's a beautiful language, and it's not all that hard to learn. And we will be doing other streams in English. At some point, we might go back to doing 2 streams per week. It depends to see how things go, whether there's enough interest. Let me just repeat the information in Spanish. El próximo martes vamos a tener nuestra programación completamente en español. Todos son invitados para participar y entrar su comentario en el chat, con el entendimiento que todo lo que vamos a decir será completamente en español. Entonces, si hay miembros de la audiencia que no entienden español, quizás es un buen tiempo para aprender el idioma. No es tan difícil. And maybe you speak better Spanish than me, even though I speak Spanish like a gringo. But at least I can speak it. That being said, I'm going to close with a new ending. Do not let the errors of the past damage your future. In other words, you cannot live in the past. You can learn from the past, but do not let the errors in the past completely control your future. And of course, let's be mindful of the fact that we're still dealing with C-19, which has killed over 900,000 people so far. And we must do everything possible to minimize our contact with the mentally and intellectually challenged. Because if we fail to do so, we will be infected by their stupidity and massive insanity. That being said, this has been another episode of Uncommon Sense with Jose Negron, and I bid you all good night. Take care. And wait a minute, I think I see something. Okay. Take care and peace.